Hi and welcome back to Once Upon a Tiny Farm. My name's Drew. In today's video, I want to talk about a specific weed that is taking over my farm and causing me a lot of problems. And I want to tell you what that weed is and help you identify it and talk about the ways I'm trying to mitigate this weed, which is going to be very difficult on an organic farm. So stick around. So this here is a row of radishes, and I am actually picking this row for the last time because, as you can see, radish leaves here, these right here, this weed is called Shaggy Soldier. There's some other names for it, but it's in the daisy family. As you can see, just from this little seedling here, all the root structure that it has underground. So this, just a small one. Imagine some of the bigger ones, they actually go to seed very, very quickly. And one like seed pod in one of these weeds contains 7,000 seeds. So this is going to be impossible to maintain, but I need to do something proactively because I cannot have this take over my farm. Now, radishes grow super fast, and usually radishes can outpace the weeds. And this row of radishes actually at first had perfect germination, but I have picked this already for 2 weeks, and all the open spots now have seeded this Shaggy Soldier, and it's everywhere, and I don't want it creeping. I already have other weeds here in these rows of carrots, but the carrots germinated really nice. I don't have many Shaggy Soldier in here, but I need to pick up hand weed over here. And what I'm going to do in this row is just take out all the radishes that are left, regardless of size, and I'm going to come in with my flame weeder and flame weed this whole row. And it's not just in this row, it's in a lot of my other rows where I've direct seeded, like those rows of lettuce up there, and they grow some pretty deep, gruesome roots that take away energy and nutrients from the lettuce and carrots and everything else that I'm growing. Over here, I'll walk you over here real quick. There's actually, this is a row of beets, and that has grown nicely. There's still weeds in here and some of the Shaggy Soldier. This is another row of beets where I actually weeded both of these. The Shaggy Soldier still came in, and you could see here, these are the flowers. When it goes to flower, these are so hard now to pull. Look at all of that root. It's taking away so much energy and nutrients from the beets that I'm trying to grow here. So they're not going to get to the full size that I need. And I think what I'm going to end up doing here is taking out, as hard as it may be to do, I think I have to pull this whole row. Look at all that Shaggy Soldier. These two rows helped me. I got perfect germination here in salad turnips. So with that whole row full, and I haven't harvested anything there, there hasn't been much room for the Shaggy Soldier to move in there, but I'm going to pull this whole row and flame weed everything. And I'm going to do the same thing over there, and I'm probably going to get another cut from my salad mix up there, and I'm going to flame weed everything and start over with fresh compost and everything, and try to get rid of this as much as I can. I do a lot of direct seeded crops, and when you're direct seeding into the soil, you don't want much competition for those seeds that you're planting there, or you're just going to have a big weedy mess that you're not going to be able to harvest from. So it's really important to have a stale seed bed. So what that means is, if I take out this row here of radishes and flame weed the remaining debris and all that Shaggy Soldier that remains there, then I can come in with more compost and put a fresh layer of, basically it would act like mulch on top of everything there after I kill all of that. And there's going to be more weed seeds that pop up still, even after I flame weed. It's not going to get everything. So I'll let that sit for a few days, and as soon as the next row set of weeds start to emerge, I will flame weed that again and kill as much as possible, and then I will be able to plant in this again. So that's my plan to mitigate this shaggy soldier. But as you can see, it spreads really, really fast, and the roots are crazy, go crazy deep, and just pulling out a little seedling, it takes a big chunk of the soil with it. So it's very unfortunate here because as you guys know, I try not to, well, I don't use any chemical pesticides, anything to get rid of weeds. And it's really hard to do that with that kind of weed. So I'm using fire. I'm going to use fire to try and get rid of it as best I can. And first I'm just going to get rid of this stuff. But very frustrated by this weed. It's not just over here, it's on my other little plot in front of our house too. So got to do something. I can't just let that sit and go to seed everywhere, because then I'm going to have weeds forever, and we don't want that. So I'm going to pull up all these radishes and then take out my flame weeder and try to burn the crap out of these weeds so they don't come back and annoy me anymore. So it's the next morning after I torched everything here, and you can see everything is just laying dead here. And I also torched the pathways in between these rows of carrots. Now luckily there's not too many of the lamb's quarters in my carrot rows here, but last year I did have some issues with that shaggy soldier in my carrot rows, and it totally decimated my carrots, because as I showed you, the amount of root mass that it builds under the soil takes away from the carrots space to grow. So it just took over the whole bed. So I think this works proactively. The best time to actually torch the ground that I found is actually not when I did it yesterday. It was wet because it rained the last 2 days. It's best to do the torching in the middle of the day when everything's really dry and there's not much moisture, so things can just lay on the ground and die a lot faster. I also torched these rows here. This row, I actually just seeded carrots like 3 or 4 days ago, and that row over there, I also torched that row. The carrots didn't germinate yet, but I started to see some weed seeds, and that's another way that I tried to mitigate weeds proactively, at least in my carrot rows, is a few days after I seed them, 4 or 5 days, you can come through with the flame weeder. It doesn't destroy the carrot seeds. As long as they haven't germinated yet and you don't see any carrots, you can flame weed, and anything that tries to germinate weed-wise on top can die. And that'll give free reign for the carrots to grow. And that's what I did on these rows, and these came out really nice. Still have some weeds. I don't know like if it's possible to have a weed-free farm, but I'm trying my best. And another thing I think I did a good job here is the shaggy soldier that I saw starting to come up in this row of radishes. They hadn't gone to flower yet, but they were getting close to flowering, and that's where all the seeds are. So that's the stage that I think you need to come in and get them as soon as you can. So that's something that I did good. I'm going to add some compost here and probably torch the bed one more time before I do any planting. Over here, I have a row of my direct seeded salad mix. It looks good at first, but when you look closer, you could see the shaggy soldier here is really trying to get into this row. And I think that's why this row isn't as big as it should be. And there's nothing I could really do about this other than try to get a cut from these rows maybe one more time, and then torch these rows and move on to the next crop, because these have flowered, and this this is going to be a problem for me for a while. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is getting another cut. The other thing about that weed that's annoying is that I have to pull them out of my mix when I'm bagging the lettuce for market, and it takes a really long time. And it also messes up my harvester because the stems are so thick that yeah, it just gets in my way. So I really wish that wasn't there. And it's taken away nutrients from the lettuce. The lettuce should be bigger, taller, especially after all that rain. So this weed is gonna be a pest for a while. But I think what I'm gonna end up doing is torching this, like I said, and I'm actually gonna put some landscape fabric like I have here for my Salanova, and I'm gonna cover these rows with the landscape fabric to plant. I think I'm gonna do head lettuces or something next, but that'll just help me because then I'll only have to pull weeds. See, the weeds don't even care about the weed fabric either. I gotta pull those weeds out. They're like that, but it really makes your life easier for the most part, except for when things like that happen. So I think that's what I'm gonna do here to try to kill off any other shaggy soldiers that try to germinate here. But yeah, it's been kind of frustrating, this weed, for sure. If anyone else has any experience dealing with this weed on their farm or in their backyard, let me know what you did to mitigate it, because yeah, this came on for the first time at the end of last season, and I see that the seeds spread a lot of places on my farm. I'm trying to do the best that I can to get rid of it. So let me know if you have any suggestions for me. I'd appreciate that in the comments down below. That's gonna wrap up this video though. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here. I'd really appreciate it. And give this video a like if you found it helpful in any way. All right guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.